You can try to rewrite history all you want, but the woke SJW Terminator is not going to let you.
Hi, so has anyone else heard of this insanity yet?
If you thought we were woke before, you done went and woke the beast. Welcome to Woke 2.0. All my woke warriors, give me a blue heart and share. Let's spread the love.
She said, quote, Woke 1 was crazy. Woke 1.0 was crazy. You were asked about that. You said you didn't know what Woke 1 was. So I've been trying to figure out how to ask this question. There's no official definition. I think Woke 1 generally refers to what are now viewed as excesses of the progressive movement. Defund the police, a far-left view of the world that views the world in terms of only oppressor and oppressee. Language policing, holiday policing, cancel culture, positions that turned off a lot of middle-of-the-road voters.
So here's my question. What the hell is Woke 2.0? Okay. I am so sick of people constantly changing the meanings of words or forgetting the meanings of words. I'm so tired of it. Over the years, I have made maybe like 6 or 7 videos warning about the dangers of changing the definitions of words. I looked up a little bit of this woke 2.0 thing, and people actually think that like woke SJW culture started in 2020. Yeah, I'm serious. And you know why? Because some of the woke 2.0 posts were saying things like, when we did woke version 1 back in the George Floyd era, and I was like, whoa, whoa. Excusez-moi. What do you mean the George Floyd era? Okay, it's time for me to give you a proper history lesson with correct definitions by Matt's FTR. Are you ready? Because unlike most people, I actually possess what today are basically superpowers that most people don't possess anymore. Because of number one, you all have TikTok brain, which has destroyed your attention span. I actually have an attention span, and I actually have a memory for things that happened 10, 15, 20 years ago. I actually have the ability for nuance. Most people don't. I actually have the ability for pattern recognition. Most people don't. I actually have the ability for rare sense. Most people don't. So because of that, let me explain how it actually happened and when. Woke culture was not even, it didn't even start off that way. At first, they were called SJWs, which stands for Social Justice Warriors. This term became popular around 2012, after the Mayan calendar ended, which, by the way, is one of the theories that people say. It's more of a joking theory, not an actual conspiracy theory. It's more of a joking theory that when the Mayan calendar ended, the world actually did end, but in the sense that sanity died, and then boom, SJW culture was born. Because if you think back, it actually was the end of 2012, early 2013, when SJW culture was starting to take off. So originally, they were called social justice warriors. Now, what is an SJW? An SJW is a slang term for a left-wing extremist. That's the actual meaning. That's how it all started. Then, towards like the end of the 2010s, like 2017, 18, 19, everybody started calling them snowflakes, but they were still left-wing extremists. Then in 2020, people started using the word woke a lot more. Now, woke was not a new concept. The reason why they changed the word from SJW to woke is because they were trying to rewrite history. I am constantly warning about this, but nobody listens. But that was the intention. It wasn't just because the word evolved and it was a new thing. No. It was the exact same thing, just with a different word to rewrite history. It was so that woke people could say, well, what do you mean? I'm not an SJW. I'm woke, okay? I'm not like those people. No, you are. Both SJW and woke are slang terms for being a left-wing extremist. Now, what do SJWs and woke people believe in? Now, if you just check out this video I made from a few years ago, I literally describe what are the core beliefs of being a woke, SJW, snowflake, left-wing extremist, whatever term you want to use. These are all just terms for the same thing. Here you go.
Wokeness is the extreme left-wing or liberal beliefs that we see in modern day, and we call the people who believe in those SJWs or social justice warriors. Beliefs such as believing that modern feminism is needed, believing that women are more oppressed than men, believing that there's 1,000 genders, believing that anyone who speaks facts is a right-wing conspiracy theorist, believing that all white people are evil and should die, believing that all black people are victims, believing in cancel culture, supporting the corrupt plus part of LGBT plus, supporting Black Lives Matter, the idea of giving a movie a low rating just because it didn't have enough SJW propaganda in it, or women, or LGBT characters, but then giving a movie a high score even if it's a bad movie just because it does pander to SJW or woke culture, the idea of calling all white people racist, the idea of calling all men sexist, and believing that feelings in general are more important than objective facts, and various other things.
These are beliefs that left-wing extremists believe in, and these are factually incorrect beliefs. So we started using the term for these people and called them social justice warriors and woke people later on. But the thing is, from the beginning, I was very much against doing this. In this video here called Backwards SJW Terminology Rant, I warned about this, and I made this video in 2019, 7 years ago. When I made this video, we weren't even using the word woke yet. We were still calling them SJWs. But to give you a summary, because I'm probably going to delete this video, in this video I explained how all of these words that we use today, whether if we are taking good words and putting a bad meaning on them, or literally changing a word entirely, this is the wrong thing to do, because it rewrites history and makes people forget what things really mean. See, why would you call them social justice warriors? That term implies that they fight for social justice. It makes them think that they're smart. So if I say, you're dumb, you're an SJW, they go, so you're saying I fight for social justice? I'm going to take that as a compliment, which is exactly what they do. If I call somebody woke, it's meant as an insult. But the word woke means that you're awake and aware, so they take it as a compliment. I said in this video, it is so wrong to use these words like this because they, even though they have a bad meaning, the word itself is complimentary, so they think it's good, and they think you're dumb for using a good word as an insult. So I started saying, don't call them social justice warriors. I said call them social injustice warriors. Don't call them woke, call them asleep, because they're not awake. Now, people did fight back a bit. A lot of people started saying, no, I'm not woke, I'm awake. So there was that way of differentiating, but that wasn't good enough. And I also cover many other change definitions, kind of like how they changed the meaning of racism from prejudice and discrimination of somebody based on skin color to being born white. That was another change definition just to make white people feel bad for being born white. And there's multiple other examples of this happening. I mean, I actually had somebody literally send me a picture with the definitions of woke, both what it was historically and what it is today. And the definition for today actually says, well, woke is the idea of being aware of social issues like racism and sexism and fighting against them to progress the world and make it better. So when woke people see that definition, they go, oh, see, I'm woke. I'm doing the right thing. I'm fighting racism. I'm fighting sexism. How can you make that a bad thing? This is what happens when you change definitions or give them the wrong word. We know from the list I told you earlier and literally all of my YouTube videos that woke people are not actually anti-racist. They are not anti-sexist. They're actually the most racist and sexist people in the world. They are the least tolerable people in the world. Nobody is more hateful than a left-wing extremist. Literally nobody. You could take the most far-right religious conservative, and they are still miles less hateful than a left-wing extremist. True SJWs or woke people, as we know, as you've seen in all my videos, they literally hate white people, they hate men, and they hate all these things, right? But the thing is, the actual definition of woke of what it's supposed to be, being anti-racist, anti-sexist, you put the word woke on them as an insult, but they are reading the real definition, associating it with themselves, and even though they're actually racist and sexist, they convince themselves that they're anti-racist and sexist because they're looking at the real definition and saying, yeah, that's me, when in reality, they're the complete opposite of that definition. That is what actually happened and why these words became such a fucking mess. So because of that, people started, like I said earlier, saying, okay, so the word woke in its real definition has been completely tainted. Now I'm going to differentiate and say, okay, I'm woke in its real definition, but because the way modern people use it against SJWs is tainted, and they actually behave the exact opposite of what the definition is supposed to be, I will fight back and say, okay, I'm not woke in that context, but I'm awake. Like, it is crazy how messed up the whole thing got. So when you look at videos like mine, where I am fighting SJWs every day, calling out people who hate men, calling out people who hate white people, calling out the plus part of LGBT, calling out all the crazy trans stuff, calling out all this mental illness, calling out all this political corruption, all this stuff. I and my videos are what's actually woke if we use the real definition. But if we use the definition of using woke as a slang term for left-wing extremism, which is the opposite of the real definition, I know, confusing, right? But look what you've done the last 10 years. Anyway, if you're using that definition, no, I am not woke. But if you're just using the paper definition of fighting for what is right in the Western world, then sure, I'm woke, I guess. But if we're using it as a slang term for left-wing extremism, then no, I am not woke, I am awake, which is anti-woke. Did you follow? Anyway, that's the real definition and what happened and why it changed. And for those of you who are wondering, why do I always write down woke/SJW in my video titles or in my video descriptions? It's because I don't want to forget history. I still remember that SJW was the original term for a left-wing extremist. So if I just say woke in my videos, it makes people think that these are two separate things. I want to consistently remind people that no, they are not two different things. They are not two different ideologies. They're the exact same thing, just with the more modern term. So I say woke/SJW to remind people of that. So I don't know what woke 2.0 is supposed to be. I mean, these people are so dumb, they don't even know when true wokeness began. Granted, I guess you could technically say that woke began in 2020, because even though it was called SJW before that, we did start using the word woke in 2020, so I guess you could say that's the reason why. I know I'm grasping at straws there, but if I'm going to give these people any credit, I'll say maybe that's the reason, but it was the same concept before 2020, just with a different word. Whether if it's SJW, snowflake, woke, it doesn't matter. They all mean left-wing extremism and being a stupid idiot. Anyway, I don't know what woke 2.0 is even supposed to be or is going to be. I'm not sure how these people can get even dumber, but I guess we'll see what's going to happen next.
Simply put, when you call yourself woke, or somebody calls you woke, how do you know which one they're referring to? Like, do you mean I'm woke as in I'm awake and aware of what's going on in the world? Or do you mean I'm woke as in I'm a left-wing extremist and you're actually a complete out-of-touch moron? That's why I really hate all this crap with changing words and definitions and meanings, or allowing them to rewrite history and say that woke actually started in 2020, despite the fact that it really started in 2012. Simply put, here's how I put it. I don't even use the word woke or SJW unless I'm talking about an idiotic left-wing extremist. If I'm talking about the word woke in terms of what the definition is supposed to mean, I will say the word awake, and I'll make sure to tell the person, oh, I'm awake as in aware, not woke as in a left-wing extremist. And that's what we have to do so that we can make sure that when we use complimentary words, because we've been forced to do that the last 15 years, we don't actually mean it as a compliment. And that way we don't hear these dumb SJWs online going, oh, you're calling me woke? Thanks for the compliment. Because it's not, for the record.